Hip opening is one of the famous and main themes in yoga. Hey there, welcome to our channel. Like always, a new category to discuss on. Today's sequence shall be Hip Opening Yoga Sequence with Core Strength by Tummee.com, a yoga sequencing app for yoga teachers. Now, when we talk about hip opening yoga sequence, we are talking about giving a stretch to the inner thighs, activating the pelvic floor muscles by allowing flow of energy to the hips and the psoas muscles. Tightness of the hips could be due to many reasons, and one of the reasons is tightness of certain muscles, and one of those muscles could be the core muscles. A higher hip mobility ensures progressive growth in yoga, just like arm strengthening. A strong core is also needed to do many yoga poses. But when doing hip openers, main thing required is endurance, to be able to feel the stretch and allow the energy to flow to the region. For endurance, we work on strengthening the core. In this sequence, the main pose is the bear pose, which involves engagement of the core and activates the hips because of the squat-like position. This sequence is a 30-minute one, and because it's a core yoga sequence, we start with sun salutation as warm-up, getting the muscles in the body ready for further intense poses. After completing enough rounds of the sun salutation, students relax in Prasarita Tadasana with hands on hips, focusing on getting breath to normal. Ask the students to close their eyes and take their awareness to the hip region and the abdomen, and also notice the grounding of the feet because the sequence has a lot of standing poses. After which they head to Dolasana on both sides of the body. The alternate touch of the knees helps in stretching the hips, the hamstrings, and the glutes along with the oblique core muscles preparing for side bends. The forward bend helps in proper extension of the spine without rounding it. Till now, we were preparing the different leg muscles. Now we head to a simple core engagement pose, which is standing forward bend, elbows resting on legs. The knees are slightly bent and the stretch is felt in the lower back, hips and glutes preparing for bear pose. Ask the students to notice their core. After holding it for 8 to 9 breaths, they will have a cramp-like feeling. That is just a cue that their core is getting actively engaged. The next two poses are preparatory poses for bear pose, starting with Utkatasana, arms forward, and then Utkatasana, which helps students understand if their body is ready in terms of balance and stability. In both poses, the sacrum has to be pushed out and no pressure should be felt in the lower back. The thighs, hips, quadriceps, arms, and the core feels the activation. So ask your students to focus on these regions. In both these poses, the feet are together. So when they head to the bear pose, the students come up, spread the feet hip distance apart, and then head to the bear pose. This is the first round of doing bear pose. The breath awareness is important. Notice the hips, quadriceps, thighs, neck, arms, and the torso. The alignment of all this will ensure students hold this pose for long. Firm feet is very important in all the three poses. The next two poses, that is Parshvottanasana variation, hands on floor, and Parshvottanasana gives a good stretch to the hamstrings, glutes, calves, and for giving maximum stretch, the knee is kept straight with a straight spine. But students can first start with keeping their knees slightly bent and then progress to perfecting the pose. Both these poses add to the hip flexibility and higher endurance level of students. Students again do Utkatasana, bear pose, Parshvottanasana variation, and Parshvottanasana on the other side of the body, and notice the difference in stretch and flexibility between the two sides, which will help students further. This being the second round, surely students will find much more stability and balance. Utkatasana and bear pose performed frequently is enough to activate the core and open the hips at beginner level. After a set of forward bends and wide hip openers, students surrender to Baddha Hasta Sthiti Salabhasana. It's a back bend which helps in releasing any pressure in the neck, shoulders, and the spine. This is a counter pose which also requires hip flexibility and a strong core to do the back bend. Now, this sequence can be a part of your main yoga class for hip openers. Hip opening sequences have many asymmetrical poses followed by symmetrical poses like the bear pose and the chair pose in this sequence to evaluate the hip flexibility. Now create such 20 to 30 minute sequences for hip opening, and the day you teach this class, you can combine two such flows for hip openers to make it more comprehensive. Add the sequences to the comment section below, helping your fellow teachers. Sharing a Facebook review by our user. Thank you very much for your kind words and for your review. Like, share, and subscribe to our channel. See you soon with another comprehensive hip opening yoga sequence for intermediate students. So thank you and stay tuned.